Did anyone ever sit you down and tell you the real truth about life after 80? Not the usual cliches about slowing down or celebrating another birthday. I'm talking about the deeper, quieter truths, the kind no one prepares you for, like waking up one day and realizing the phone doesn't ring like it used to, or discovering that your energy, your purpose, and even your presence in the world feels different, more fragile, more precious. Here on Golden Minds, we don't avoid the hard topics. We walk through them together with open eyes and steady hearts. Because after 80, life doesn't stop. It shifts. And if you're not ready for that shift, it can leave you feeling ungrounded, wondering, why didn't anyone warn me? In today's video, we'll explore 5 brutal truths about life after 80, but not to scare you. We're here to give you clarity, not fear, strength, not sadness. These are the realities that no one talks about. But once you understand them, you can rise above them with dignity, grace, and quiet power. You've lived through more than most can imagine, and now it's your time to shape this chapter with intention. So stay with me through the end, because what you hear today could change the way you experience aging forever. If you're new to Golden Minds, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell. And if you find any part of this video speaks to you, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Let's begin. Reality number 1. Your social world shrinks, but connection is still possible. It doesn't happen all at once. One day you're chatting on the phone, making lunch plans, waving to neighbors at the mailbox. The next, there's a stillness, a quiet that sneaks in between your days. The calls slow down. The invitations dry up. People who were once a part of your rhythm begin to disappear, not out of neglect, but because life keeps moving, even when you're ready to pause and savor. No one really tells you about this part of aging, the slow unraveling of your social world. And yet, it's one of the most profound changes that comes after 80. Friends move away, some pass on, others face their own health struggles. Even family, though they still love you, may become wrapped up in their own whirlwind of responsibilities, jobs, children, caregiving. I remember speaking with Helen, an 83-year-old woman who used to volunteer at her community library every Wednesday. It was her sanctuary, a place filled with familiar faces, light laughter, and purpose. But after the library closed during renovations, she found herself home more often, staring at her cup of tea, wondering where the chatter had gone. It wasn't just about being busy, she told me. It was about being known. That's the part no one warns you about. Not the quiet, it's the ache of not being seen. But here's the truth. Just because connection doesn't come to your doorstep anymore, doesn't mean it's out of reach. You simply have to reach differently. You have to be more intentional. And yes, that takes courage, but it's a courage you've already lived a lifetime to build. Staying connected after 80 doesn't have to mean loud parties or long conversations. It can be a simple coffee chat once a week, a phone call you initiate, a letter mailed with love. It might mean joining a small discussion group at your local church, taking a gentle chair yoga class at the senior center, or even starting a virtual book club with your grandchildren. Connection today comes in many forms. It just might not look like it used to. Technology, though intimidating at first, can become a bridge. Helen eventually joined a group chat with her old library friends. Every Sunday afternoon, they share thoughts about a book they're reading together. It's not the same as in person, but the joy in her voice returned, because connection isn't about proximity, it's about presence. And if you're thinking, but I don't know where to start, that's okay. The first step isn't big, it's honest. Reach out to one person, say, I've been thinking of you, or invite someone in, even if just for tea and quiet conversation. You'll be surprised how often others are longing for the same. The world may grow quieter after 80, but it doesn't have to be lonely. You still have so much to share. Your stories, your insight, your warmth. Your presence still matters deeply. So if your days have grown silent, don't just sit with the silence. Soften it with a new connection. One call, one walk, one gesture at a time. Because the truth is, connection now may require more intention, but it brings deeper meaning than ever before, and you are absolutely still worth being known. Reality number 2, you begin to feel invisible, but you're still here and you still matter. And as your circle grows quieter, there's another change that often follows, one that's harder to explain, but deeply felt. It's the slow, subtle sense that the world isn't really looking at you anymore. Not fully, not with the attention or respect it once did. You might notice it in the smallest moments. A cashier who talks over you to the person behind, a doctor who directs every word to your daughter instead of you, or a waiter who speaks louder and slower like you can't understand. These things aren't meant to hurt. Often they come from a place of assumption or habit, but over time, they add up. And what they say without words is this: you're fading, but you're not. You are still here, still thinking, choosing, learning, remembering, still full of stories and ideas and questions, still living. I think about Mr. Lewis, a retired history teacher I once met at a local senior writing group. At 87, he still had a spark in his eyes, and his memory for detail was incredible. But during one of his doctor's visits, the nurse turned to his son and asked, "So what medications is he on?" Mr. Lewis raised an eyebrow and answered for himself. Later, he told me, "It's like the older you get, the less people expect you to speak for yourself." That kind of invisibility isn't always loud. It doesn't shout. It just seeps into your days little by little until you catch yourself feeling smaller. Not because you are, but because the world has stopped looking closely. And that's why now, more than ever, you must hold your space. You don't need to raise your voice or demand the spotlight, but you do need to keep showing up. Ask the question, share the opinion, tell the story that only you can tell. If someone speaks over you, gently speak again. If they dismiss you, speak anyway. Because every time you claim your voice, you remind not only the world, but yourself that you're still in it. And not just as an observer, you are a participant. You are a witness to decades of change. You've earned your place in every conversation, every room, every decision that involves you. Sometimes staying visible means finding new ways to express yourself. Art, writing, music, mentorship. These are powerful tools. So is simply listening closely and offering insight when it's needed most. Younger generations may not always know how to engage with your wisdom, but that doesn't mean they don't need it. Sometimes you have to meet them halfway. And if you've been feeling invisible lately, I want you to know, you're not alone in that. Many people your age feel the same quiet ache. But just like connection, visibility now requires intention. It takes that gentle courage to say, "I still matter," and to live like it's true. Because it is true. You are not a shadow. You are not a relic. You are a force, soft perhaps, but enduring. And the more you allow yourself to be seen, the more the world remembers to look. So don't dim your light. Let it shine, even if you have to light the room yourself. Reality number 3, your energy changes, but you can still stay strong in a new way. After you've spent a lifetime standing tall, working hard and being seen, there comes a moment, often quiet, sometimes unexpected, when your body starts sending new signals. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily like a gentle wave reshaping the shoreline. Maybe you used to garden for hours without thinking twice. Maybe you climbed stairs with ease or walked through the grocery store without needing a break. And then one day you pause halfway up the steps or sit down halfway through making lunch. Not because you're weak, but because your energy asks for something different now. This isn't just about getting older. It's about learning a new rhythm. A slower one, yes, but also a wiser one. I remember meeting Patricia, 82, at a community art class. She used to be a dance instructor, graceful and vibrant. She told me, "My body doesn't move the way it used to, but I've learned to move with it instead of against it." After a fall 2 years ago, she stopped dancing full routines, but now she teaches gentle movement through seated stretches and mindful breathing. She didn't stop moving, she adapted. That's the heart of this shift. At this stage, recovery takes longer. A cold lingers. A bruise from bumping the table seems to last for weeks. You might feel fine one moment and then suddenly drain the next. It can feel frustrating, even unfair, especially when your spirit still feels sharp and ready. But here's something most people don't say enough. Strength doesn't vanish, it transforms. It's no longer about how fast you move or how much you can lift. It's about how well you listen to your body, how kindly you respond to it, and how wisely you conserve and direct your energy. Instead of pushing through exhaustion, you start planning around it. You stretch instead of strain. You sit in sunlight instead of rushing through errands. You make room for rest, not as a setback, but as part of your daily strength routine. And yes, this can feel like unfamiliar ground, especially if you've spent decades being the one everyone relied on. But learning to treat your body as a companion, not just a tool, can unlock a powerful new sense of control. You might find strength in smaller actions now, lifting light weights to keep your bones strong, walking a few extra steps each day to support your balance, choosing foods that nourish your joints and muscles. Even staying hydrated can improve your energy and alertness more than many people realize. Patricia told me something beautiful one day. I don't bounce back like I used to, but I bounce forward. I keep going, just with more care. That's it. You don't need to go back to anything. You're not falling behind. You're simply learning how to move differently, more intentionally, more respectfully. And if you honor that shift, instead of resisting it, you may find something even better than youthful strength, peaceful strength, the kind that doesn't push, but carries. Because even in a slower body, your spirit can walk tall, and your strength, though quieter now, is still deeply present, steady, enduring, and entirely yours. Reality 4. Accepting help doesn't diminish you. It protects what matters most. As your body begins to ask for more patience and care, another truth slowly makes its way to the surface, one that can be harder to face than any physical change. You start to need help, not all the time, not for everything, but enough that you notice it. You pause before lifting a box that used to be easy. You hesitate before driving at night or reaching for the top shelf. Even if you can still do these things, you start to wonder, should I? And the most surprising part? It's not just the tasks that change, it's how you feel about them. For many, needing help comes with a quiet discomfort. It brushes up against a lifetime of independence, of doing for others, of holding everything together. I met Harold at a senior lunch program. He's 86, tall, proud, and used to be a mechanic. I used to fix everything with my own two hands, he said with a half smile. Now I have trouble opening a jar of pickles. And asking for help? That's been harder than any repair I ever made. There's something deeply personal about accepting help. It can feel like surrender, like giving up control. But the truth is, learning when to ask for support and how to receive it isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's an act of preservation, not defeat. When you allow someone to lend a hand, whether it's driving you to a doctor's appointment, carrying a heavy bag, or simply being there while you navigate stairs, you're not giving up your strength. You're protecting your ability to keep showing up for what matters. It's also worth remembering that help doesn't always have to come from people. Thoughtful adjustments in your home, like installing grab bars in the bathroom, using a sturdy step stool, or switching to shoes with better grip, can quietly safeguard your independence without ever requiring you to ask aloud. Technology can lend a hand too. A voice assistant that sets reminders, a pill organizer with a timer, or even grocery delivery apps can help you manage your life without giving up control. These tools aren't signs of aging poorly, they're signs of adapting smartly. And just like Harold, you might be surprised by what happens when you let people in. After a minor fall one winter, his daughter began stopping by every Friday to bring groceries. At first, he insisted she didn't need to, but over time, those visits became something more. A shared coffee, a story from the past, laughter about things long forgotten. Harold told me later, I thought I was being a burden. Turns out she was glad to have a reason to slow down and see me. That's the beauty of it. Asking for help isn't just about getting support, it's about opening space for connection, for care, for being reminded that you're not meant to carry everything alone. So if you've been holding back, resisting that offer, brushing off that suggestion, hiding that small struggle, know this. There's courage in saying, I could use a hand. There's strength in choosing safety over pride. Because the goal isn't to do everything the way you used to. The goal is to keep doing what matters in the ways that work for you now. And you deserve that. Reality number 5. If you don't redefine your purpose, regret may fill the silence. Once you begin accepting help with grace, something unexpected can settle in. Space, not just in your schedule, but within your days, your home, your heart. Life starts to quiet down in ways you never anticipated. The calendar isn't full like it once was. The to-do lists shrink. The rush that once defined your days begins to fade. At first, it might feel like relief, a long-awaited breath. But over time, that silence can stir something deeper. Reflection. You start to revisit old choices, rerun conversations in your mind. Think about the time you missed someone's birthday, or didn't take that trip, or let fear talk you out of something bold. And if you're not careful, that reflection can tip into regret. This happens more often than people admit, because no one talks about how much time you'll have to think in your 80s, and how that time, if not filled with meaning, can start to feel like a slow ache. I remember talking with Joanne, 87, a retired school principal. She once led a staff of 40 and guided generations of students. But now she said, "My phone barely rings. My house is quiet. Some days I wonder, was that it?" What she really meant wasn't that her life lacked value, but that she hadn't found a new way to feel valuable in this stage. That's the turning point. When roles shift and routines disappear, you must redefine what purpose looks like now. And it doesn't have to be grand. Purpose isn't always about big gestures or busy schedules. It can be a 5-minute phone call to a friend who lives alone, a handwritten letter to your grandson, telling him a story you've never shared, teaching someone how to make your favorite recipe, or simply tending to your plants, knowing that nurturing something, even a tiny flower, matters. Sometimes your greatest impact now isn't on the world stage. It's in the lives of those around you, in the calm presence you bring to a family gathering, in the wisdom you offer when someone feels lost, in the way you make others feel seen, heard, and loved. And just as important, it's in what you offer yourself. Joy doesn't have to disappear with age. Creativity doesn't expire. Curiosity doesn't fade. You can still learn a new skill, explore a new interest, or reflect through journaling, art, or faith. Joanne eventually found her spark again. She began mentoring young teachers online through a retired educators network. "I may not walk the halls anymore," she told me, "but I still have something to give, and I still want to grow." That's the key. Purpose isn't fixed, it evolves. And when you shift your mindset from what you've stopped doing to what you can still create, something opens up. Freedom. So if you've been wondering what's next, it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to feel true to you. Because even in this quieter season of life, you still get to shape your days with intention. And that sense of purpose, however small or personal, is what keeps the heart open, the mind active, and the spirit alive. You're not done. You're just entering a different kind of meaningful, and it's yours to define. Reaching your 80s isn't just a number. It's a testament, a quiet, powerful statement that you've endured, adapted, and grown through decades of change. But what so few people tell you is that even now, this chapter comes with its own set of truths. Some are tender, others more difficult to face, but all of them ask the same thing of you: to keep living with intention. Maybe today something resonated: the silence of a shrinking social circle, the sting of feeling invisible, the slow shift in your body's rhythm, the quiet courage it takes to ask for help, or the ache that shows up when your days feel too still and your purpose feels unclear. Whatever it was, I hope you felt seen, because you're not alone in any of this. These aren't signs of decline. They're signs of transformation. They show where you've been, and they hint at how much more life there still is, waiting to be shaped by your hands. You don't have to go back to who you were. You get to move forward, softer, wiser, and just as strong. This season of life may be quieter, but it can be deeper, more meaningful, and even more beautiful. Here at Golden Minds, we believe in the power of your voice, your story, and your resilience. If today's message touched you, please leave a comment below and share which truth spoke to your heart. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss the conversations that matter most. Because aging isn't the end of your story. It's the most honest, most powerful part of it. And you're writing it beautifully.